Hello, this is Greg from SharePoint Maven, and in this video I will show and explain to you how to create and manage hub sites in SharePoint. Now, we actually had hub sites in SharePoint for several years now, since 2018 to be exact. And back then, I actually published a pretty detailed article on how to create hub sites. However, over all these years, Microsoft has been releasing some additional functionalities and features and capabilities related to the hub sites. And I've been publishing various articles and blog posts, on my blog explaining this functionality, and I even have several videos on my YouTube channel explaining the same features as well. However, what I decided to do, just because we have all these functionalities at the moment that we didn't have before, I decided to record this one big video where I kind of put it all together and explain to you everything from hub creation to more advanced capabilities of the hub sites. So this tutorial is split into kind of three main areas. First, what I will do first is essentially explain to you what hub sites are all about and why we need them in SharePoint. Then I will explain and show you how to create and manage hub sites. And then after that, I will show you some of those additional capabilities that we now have that we actually didn't have before. And those more advanced capabilities and features will help you manage your hub sites going forward, and will help you make your hub sites more user-friendly and appealing to your employees and to your users. Let's first start with the definition of the hub sites and why we even need them in SharePoint. So as you create SharePoint sites, you obviously end up with a SharePoint site that has its own name, look and feel, content, security, and most importantly, a unique URL. So what you see right now on the screen is an example of one of those SharePoint sites. This happens to be an IT help desk site, and I assume the purpose of this site is, for IT team to manage help desk tickets, and users can, access the site and maybe look up their IT help desk tickets and the status and all that stuff. However, obviously, this is not the only site in your environment. You might also have maybe an employee onboarding site. And this might be the site maybe where users access and obtain information related to employee onboarding. And maybe this site is managed by one of the members of the HR team. You might also have maybe a dedicated human resources site, right, that contains general information, for all the employees related to human resources, right? This is where employees can find maybe, employee handbooks and benefits information and stuff like that. And if you notice, each of the sites, obviously has unique look and feel, unique content, obviously unique name, unique security, and obviously a unique URL. In addition to that, each site has unique navigation. So again, I am on this human resources site, and this is the site navigation for HR. I go to employee onboarding now. We have navigation on the left-hand side, and this is obviously the navigation related to employee onboarding. And finally, we have IT help desk navigation appearing over here. But here's a challenge. How do we navigate from one site to another? Now, we can obviously tweak the navigation and maybe add a few links over here from IT help desk to employee onboarding and HR, but then we have to repeat the same steps on this sites as well. So then we also need to add links to the other sites on those sites. And same with HR, right? We have to essentially add those links manually on each and every site. Not to mention that navigation appears in different areas on each and every site. So this is a communication site, so navigation is on top, and then we have this team site, and navigation is on the left-hand side. So to mitigate this issue, to resolve this issue, Microsoft released the feature called Hub Sites. And like I said, we actually had this feature since 2018. And essentially, the reason why we got this new capability called Hub Site or Hub Navigation is so that we have common navigation among all of those different sites sitting in your environment. Now, during this tutorial, we're actually going to create a hub site together, and I will show you all the various aspects and nuances related to hub sites and creating and managing the hub sites and the navigation. But what you see right now on the screen is an example of a company intranet that utilizes hub navigation. Essentially, I happen to be on the main site. We call it a hub site. In our case, think of it as a parent site that unites all of the other sites together. And what you see on top right here, this is not the site navigation for this particular site. Actually, the site has its own site navigation, which I have hidden from you. All right, it actually appeared over here. Instead, I configured and enabled hub navigation, which is this thing, this top bar over here. And if I hover over, you will notice the links going out to all the other sites. Now, I manually built this and more on this a little bit later in this tutorial. But just to give you an example, if I now navigate to human resources site, you will notice I'm on the human resources site, totally separate site. And obviously, it has its own look and feel and security and content. But if you notice, while the navigation for my site, you see this is the site navigation for HR, the global navigation, the hub navigation remain the same. And this is essentially the purpose of hub sites. So we have common navigation as you navigate from one site to another. So just to show you a few more examples, again, you see I'm pretty much going from one site to another. I happen to be on accounting site, and maybe now I want to go to a private restricted HR site. Here it is. But no matter where I go, no matter which site I am on, my hub navigation remains the same. Now, hub navigation is not the only thing that is inherited that propagates to all the sites. You probably noticed that, my theme, the colors are kind of consistent on all the other sites. There are actually a few other elements that propagate when you build a hub. I will explain all of this a little bit later in this tutorial. So what would be the typical use cases for hub sites? Well, anytime you need to have common navigation among multiple sites, a hub site does make sense. Now, there are other benefits. There are actually other reasons why you would build a hub. For example, and I will explain this a little bit later, if you want to create essentially, if you have, let's say, several sites and you want to search them all, let's say 5, 10 sites all at once, that would be another reason to create a hub. Why? Because when you create a hub, not only it inherits navigation, but also the site becomes part of the search scope of the hub. And again, I will explain to you how this works a little bit later. But again, the typical use case for the hub would be anytime you need to have common navigation among multiple sites. Company intranet, essentially something that you see right now on the screen, is always a great example of why you would need a hub, right? So essentially, you would have the main, intranet home site or hub site, as we call it, to be precise, and you will have all this other departments, team sites, client project sites, whatever you have, all connected to this one common hub site. Let's say you are part of a relatively small organization, maybe a few hundred people, right? One, hub site might be more than enough. But sometimes if you're part of a large organization, you might have a hub for each and every department. For example, let's say you are an organization of several thousand employees, and each of the departments, like let's pick on HR, human resources department might have let's say, I don't know, several hundred people, all right, in it. And as a result, maybe 5, 10, 15 SharePoint sites. Well, guess what? You can actually create a dedicated hub site for just the HR department. So HR has its own little hub, if you will, uniting all of the HR sites together. So it's easy to navigate from one site to another within the HR department. Another use case could be some sort of project portal. You might, let's say, you create a site for each and every project. Or maybe in case of a legal law firm, maybe you create a site for each and every matter or case. And let's say you have, I don't know, 50, hundreds of those sites. Well, you could actually build a hub uniting all of these sites together. Why? Maybe because obviously you want common navigation among all these different sites, project sites that you have, but also maybe you want to search them all at once. So another use case for the hub. So yeah, typically you would create a hub anytime you want to have common navigation. But as you will find out during today's tutorial, there are other things that are happening when you create a hub. So there might be other reasons like search or branding that might prompt you to create a hub within your organization. Let's now briefly talk about the hub site limits. As of recording of this particular video, these are the limits. So these are the limits that we have had for a while, but obviously depending on when you watch this video, this might change. But as of today, as of the recording of this video, these are the limits. So first of all, you can have a maximum of 2,000 hub sites per tenant. Now, I'll be honest, I think this particular limit covers it for most organizations, so I don't think this is the limit you have to worry about. And just to make sure we're on the same page, a hub site is essentially like a parent site. So, for example, a company internet would be a hub site, a client, I don't know, hub, right, would be a hub uniting all the other sites. So by hub sites, we mean those main parent sites that will unite all the other sites together. While we have a limit on how many of those hub sites or parent sites we can create, there is no limit on the number of sites you can associate to the hub. So for example, just to give you a use case, let's say you built an internet hub, right? And Internet Hub itself would be that main internet home site landing page. And then you want to associate all the other sites in your tenant, like, I don't know, marketing, HR, legal, IT, and so on to that Internet Hub. You can associate any number of sites to the hub. There is actually no limit. One other important limit to be aware of, site can only be connected to one hub at a time. You cannot be in two places at once. So for example, if you want, I don't know, let's say you have marketing site or HR site and they are part of the internet hub, you cannot be a part of another hub at the same time. All right, so you can only be associated with a particular, one hub at a time. With that being said, and this is one of those advanced functionalities I alluded to earlier, there is now a way. This is actually a relatively new feature. We can actually nest one hub inside of the other hub, and I will explain to you how that works a little bit later in this tutorial. So let's now proceed and create a hub together. There are actually three main steps involved, and you see them on the screen right now. The first step, you need to register a site as a hub. Now, this is a one-time deal. So let's say we build a company internet a portal, and we created an internet home site, right? The main site that will serve kind of as a parent site, the main homepage, if you will. You only need to register it as a hub once. So this is a one-time deal. Once you register a site as a hub, the next step would be to associate all the other sites to the hub. So you have marketing, IT, HR. This is where you associate those sites to the hub. So you repeat those steps for other sites as necessary. And the third and final step, and this is manual, step. This does not happen automatically. You have to build that common navigation with the drop-downs. So let us proceed and perform step number one. We're going to register a site as a hub. Now, before we do that, I actually want to explain something. When you create a hub, it always helps if a hub site is a communication site. Let me explain to you why. When you create a site in SharePoint, right, you have two different site types. You have a team site and communication site. And just to briefly explain to you the difference between the two, this is a communication site, all right? This is this type of site you use for one-way information sharing. So it has this widescreen look and feel, no left-hand side navigation. And essentially, this is the type of site you use for one-way information sharing. In contrast, you can also create a team site. All right, this is an example of that team site template, and this type of site is typically used for two-way collaboration. And if you notice, first of all, it has navigation on the left-hand side, but most importantly, this is the type of site that is connected to the Microsoft 365 group and Microsoft Teams. And this would be the wrong type of site to use for hub site. Let me explain to you why. Those team sites, they typically assume again that they are restricted, that they're private and only accessible by certain team members, not a wider audience. So again, let's stay on this HR team. You see, it says it's a private group, and the members of this group are Greg and Mary. So if we make this site a hub site, then we need to make sure that because a hub site has to be a site that's accessible right by wider audience, right? Because it's like a parent site and has other sites associated to it. So if I make a restricted site, a private site, a hub site, then when users navigate to this URL, they might not have access even to this site. So the bottom line is the site you want to register as a hub, it better be a communication site. You can connect other communication sites and team sites to the hub, but again, the parent site, the site you're going to register as a hub, it needs to be essentially a communication site. There might be other reasons why you might want to create it as a communication site if you later decide, and I will explain to you at the very end of this tutorial, if you later decide to set up a home site and Viva connections, you can only do so with communication sites. So again, I suggest that pretty much in all cases, you first create a communication site and then register that as a hub site. So let's do just that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to navigate to the SharePoint Admin Center. And actually, we will need to be in the Admin Center because some of those hub features are only accessible there. So let's proceed to the SharePoint Admin Center now. And we're going to create a site. So right here, we click on Active Sites. And of course, this is where I see all the sites that reside in my tenant. I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new site. And we agreed already that it's going to be a communication site, not a team site. And I'm just going to base it on let's just, let's just keep it simple. I'll just keep it really simple, create a standard template. All right, and then we might customize it if need be, but I'll use that template. And this is where I will provide a name. So we are building corporate intranet. All right. And we can change it later if necessary. So just like that, we have a name, and I'm going to make myself the owner of this. So for now, we're just creating a site that we will later register as a hub. So just like that, create a site. And once the site is created, we are going to be ready to register it as a hub. So the site has finally been created. Here it is. So let me click on this site right here. This is the site that we will convert into the hub. So let's do just that. Now, to register a site as a hub, you do need to be a SharePoint admin. All right. To associate a site to the hub, you actually don't need to be an admin. I'll demonstrate that later. But that initial step, that's step number one, when we need to register a site as a hub, you do need to be a SharePoint admin. Regular users, even if you're a site owner, you cannot create your own hub. So to perform that first step, you click on the checkbox next to the site you want to register, hub drop down, register as hub site. And this is where you give it a name. And let's just call it, you know what, let's just stick with the same name. I mean, obviously it could be something else. By the way, you can change it later. I'm just going to make it capital letters. And the reason why I make it capital letters, because that name that you type in will actually appear in the hub navigation. And again, we can tweak it later. And then all you need to do is click Save. And just like that, the step number one has been completed. We actually registered the site as a hub. Now let's double check what we did. So if I navigate to my site and I'm going to refresh my screen, you will notice what happened. So let me do that. So I just click refresh on the page and look what happened. I got this extra row, extra, bar, if you will, on the top. And this is the hub navigation. So once again, this is the site navigation for that particular site, but this is the hub navigation. This is where we are going to later build out our hub navigation and add all of this other sites that we're going to connect. Now that we registered a site as a hub, we are ready to do step number two. And step number two is where we associate other sites to that hub that we just created. Now, there are actually two ways to associate a site to the hub. You can do so from the admin center, and you can also do it from the SharePoint site itself, from one of those associated sites itself. The first step, if you want to associate sites from the admin center, of course, you have to be the SharePoint admin, right? You need to have a SharePoint admin role. However, and that's what's unique about this particular step, is that any regular site owner can also associate a site to pretty much any hub. So let's say I'm the owner of this HR site, or this IT help desk site. I can easily connect to any hub I want, and I will demonstrate both options to you. There are actually ways as well to prevent that, right? Sometimes if I'm the owner of the hub, I don't want any site owner to connect to my hub. We can actually do that. That's something I will explain a little bit later in the tutorial. But for now, let me show you those two ways to associate a site to the hub. Actually, before we do that, I'm going to do something to our corporate intranet hub site, and it will become a little bit more obvious a little bit later in a second. I'm going to change the color scheme of our hub. Let's do that, and let's just change the theme. So I'm just changing some colors. I changed the theme and adjusted the header, and it will become obvious why I did that literally in a second. So let's now proceed and associate a site from the admin center. All right, so again, two options. We can associate a site from the admin center as well as the site itself. I'm going to pick those two sites I showed you previously, and I want to connect them, associate them with the hub. So you can choose one or multiple. All right, that's the good thing. And you click on Hub Association. By the way, if you only choose one site, then instead of register as a hub site, you just choose this option, associate with the hub. But in our case, I'm doing bulk edit, hub association, and this is where you choose the hub you want to connect to. And yeah, I mean, avoid this. Apparently, I use kind of the same name for the hub, in my tenant. So you definitely want to have some unique names for your hubs. But this is the hub we want to choose. And obviously, right, as I mentioned previously, you can have up to 2,000 of those, hubs appearing in this dropdown. Very unlikely, I guess. But yeah, let me choose corporate internet hub and click save. And it doesn't take long. Essentially, the sites are now going to be associated with the hub. Let me now navigate to one of my sites. Remember, we associated this site to the hub just now. I'm going to click the refresh button. You will see what happened just like that. All right, just like that. And that was the reason why I altered the theme on the hub site. We will actually, in the next step, I will explain to you, in one of the next steps, I guess I will explain to you what actually happens when you associate a site to the hub. But now I want to show you a second technique on how to associate a site to the hub. So I just showed you how to associate sites from the admin center, but as I mentioned already, I'm the owner of this IT help desk site, and guess what? I can associate my site to any hub I want. I don't even need to be part of the SharePoint admin center. I don't need to be a SharePoint admin or have SharePoint admin role. All I have to do is this: gear icon, site information, and under hub site association, you're going to see that familiar dropdown. And again, I want to be part of that corporate internet hub, and I click save. And essentially, you will notice the same thing as we had on the HR site. You see, we got navigation and theme inherited to our site. So we just completed step number 2. Now, you probably already noticed that when I connected the sites to the hub. A few things changed about our sites. They inherited the navigation, first of all, right? That's the reason why we have hub sites in the first place. They inherited this header, the branding, if you will. However, what does not happen, the site does not magically appear in the navigation, right? So I just connected this IT help desk to to the hub, but if you notice, it doesn't, the label doesn't appear over here. This is something that just doesn't occur by itself. This is a manual step you have to do. So let's go ahead and add this label, and that's a third and final step in the hub creation. So I'm going to copy that URL, and what you need to do, or the hub navigation is obviously managed on the hub itself. So you navigate here, and you're going to see this the first time. If you don't have any links, you will see add link option. So I'm going to click add link, and this is where you add the links. Let me just add the first link over here, and I'm going to call it IT help desk. All right. And you can also specify, so let me show you a few tricks related to the links. So first of all, I can open it in another tab, but let's not worry about it. All right. And let's click save. And here it is. Now, essentially, we have common navigation among, the internet and IT help desk. So I am on the internet right now. I click on help desk. And sometimes you have to, because this is so new, you have to refresh the screen for it to appear. Here it is. So now I can easily go between my internet and IT help desk. Let's add a few more links because I want to show you a few other tricks. So I'm going to copy that HR one, and yeah, let me refresh the screen. Sometimes it takes a while for it to propagate. So once you start adding links, you now have this edit button, and this is where you can add additional links. Just like that, and I'm going to show you a few tricks after that. So just like that, and let me do the last one. So let me refresh the screen first of all, just like that. Here we go. And again, I'm going to copy that, and here we go. All right, so now we have essentially all of the sites connected. All right, so now if you notice, we have a total of 4 sites all connected through this main, hub site. And again, I can easily navigate to IT help desk. Yeah, sometimes not all links appear. You have to refresh for a while. Onboarding and so on. As you can see, one click allows me to navigate from one site to another. Let me show you one other trick. So as you keep adding all these different sites, right, you might run out of space over here. Right, there is not much space in this bar, and sometimes you just want to organize this a little bit better. And essentially, what I'm going to show you is how to do this right here. You see how I have all these different sites, but yet it doesn't take much real estate because I created those navigation drop downs. Let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to, where is my uh, corporate intranet. Let me show you how to do that. So you click the edit button, and what you need to do, you need to create, I'm going to create not a link, but a label. I'm going to create a label that's not going to be clickable, and I'm going to, you know what I'm going to call it? Yeah, let's call it departments. It could be HR, it could be something else, all right? And I'm going to drag that label up top. And now I want IT help desk, HR, and onboarding to be underneath. But you know what I'm going to do? I want the drop down effect, right? So click three dots and make a sublink, you see? And let me do that over here. Make a sublink. All right. And you can actually build up to two levels of those drop downs. Let me show you a use case where you would need to do that. So, you know what? HR and onboarding, this is related to HR, right? So I'm going to create another label and, call it HR department. And yeah, that's going to be a label, of course. And I'm going to do something like this. And then I'm going to make those two labels the drop downs underneath this one. You see? So just like that. So now, yeah, and let me, so it's all on the same level. So let me actually change this to smaller font so it looks a little bit nice, and you will see the result in a second. All right, so just like that. And then I'm going to change to this. Perfect. Let me click save, and finally we're going to see what the end result is. Just like that. Look at this. So I have my corporate intranet. That's the name of the hub, and then I have departments drop down, and then I have this, labels, and then you see I have essentially built a pretty organized series of links. So if you only have like three or four, I think you can put them across over here, no worries. But if you have quite a few of them, then it does make sense to organize them with this sublinks. So we just completed the three steps that are necessary for you to create a hub. Essentially, once again, the first step was a one-time deal. We created a hub site. Then we associated other sites to the hub. And the third step was we built that hub navigation. Let me now review with you what happens when you create a hub, because a few things happen when you actually create a hub and associate other sites to the hub. So the first thing that happens, obviously, is the navigation, the hub navigation is inherited, essentially propagates from the hub site to the associated site. So I just clicked on this HR site. If you noticed, obviously I have this hub navigation that propagated from the hub itself to the HR site. Or if I go to a help desk, again, same thing, hub navigation propagates to this particular site. And this is by design. This is by definition. This is why we have the hub site in the first place. The second thing that happens, the theme, this header propagates all the way down from the hub site to the associated site. So remember how I set this header and essentially that theme to red. If I go to any other site, you will notice that essentially, right, it's the same exact, theme, the same exact header. As a matter of fact, if let's say, what, for my IT help desk, I want to change that, you will not be able to. So let me show you that. So if I go to a gear icon, change the look, and again, I'm the owner of this IT help desk site. If I click on theme, look what it says. It says your site is connected to the corporate internet hub site, and it's set automatically to adopt the same theme. So essentially, this is how you enforce consistency in terms of branding on your on your hub. Same with header. Remember, I can change the logo here on my header. And on my site, and I can maybe change the style of my header. But remember how on the hub site I was able to actually choose that dark red header, right? There were like 4 different shades available. It's not available on my site. Why? Because once again, this propagates from the hub site to the associated sites. The third thing that happens, the site becomes part of the search scope. What does it mean? Look, once again, I'm on my IT help desk site, and look what it says here in the search box. Search this site. So that means that whatever I type in here, and search will only search this site and nothing else. Likewise, if I go to HR, again, I have searched the site. So if I type in here something, it will only search this site and nothing else. However, let me now click on corporate intranet. Read what it says right now in this search box. It says search across sites. What does it mean? It means that whatever I type in here will search all the sites that are part of the hub. So not only it will search the main site, it will also search all the sites that have been associated with the hub. And this is super important. It's all permission driven. So if let's say this site is a private site and only few people have access to it, you're not going to find search results from the sites that you don't have access to. And this is something we will discuss in the next step, but security is not impacted when you connect a site to the hub. So once again, the site, the third thing that pretty much happens in addition to navigation inheritance and branding inheritance, essentially the site becomes part of the search scope. And that's actually yet another reason. Remember a little bit earlier, I shared with you different use cases for creating hub sites. Usually the most common reason is because you want to have common navigation. But because of these few additional things I just mentioned, maybe you want to create a hub because you just want to have common branding, right? Common color scheme among multiple sites. Or sometimes you might want to have a single search scope. Remember that example with a few hundred project sites, all right, or client sites. I want to search them all. I want to create my own search experience, for example, where I have thousands of sites in my tenant, but I want to create a hub for all the client sites so I can search just the client sites. That's yet another reason why you would need to create a hub. Let's now discuss what does not happen when you associate a site to the hub. Just like I briefly mentioned earlier, nothing happens to the site security. All right. The contrary to the popular belief, when you connect a site to the hub, it does not automatically assign other users to your site. It doesn't automatically grant them access to your site. So again, case in point, if let's say this employee onboarding site is a private site, and let's just say, I'm going to add Mary in here. So Mary and I, we're team members. These are the only 2 people who have access to the site. Just because we now connected it to the hub that maybe is accessible by hundreds of employees doesn't mean that the same people now have access to our site. They will still get access denied if they try to go to our URL. Now, there is a way to synchronize hub permissions. but this is a choice you make, and this is something you have to do on purpose. All right. So, but just because you associated a site to the hub does not automatically grant access to that site. The second thing that does not happen, the logo is not propagating, down to essentially to the associated sites. Remember the header, the theme and the header, color does propagate, but you can still go ahead and change the logo on your site. All right, this is just something that every site can have its own logo. All right, so your site can have one logo, and maybe the hub site itself will have another logo. So yeah, the logos are still available for the owners to change. And the third thing that does not happen, and something we already covered, the site does not magically appear in the navigation. So every time you connect a site to the hub, it will inherit the branding, it will become part of the search scope, but if you also want to have a link to the site from the navigation, you need to manually add it, and that's a manual step. So it does not happen automatically. You manually have to build it out. So what I covered so far were kind of the mandatory steps, the three major steps that you have to do when creating a hub. Again, we registered a site as a hub. We associated other sites, and we finally built out hub navigation. What I would like to do now, show you some additional capabilities, some of those advanced features I mentioned a little bit earlier. And those features, some of them, I think most of them actually became available over the years after hub sites were initially released. And these features will help you, manage your hub sites and make it easier for you to manage hub sites. But those features will also optimize the experience for your users, right? For the recipients, if you will, of your hub sites, and will help optimize that experience and make it a little bit, more user-friendly. So the first thing I would like to show you is actually one of the cool things we can do with hubs, because we have hubs, and that is we can aggregate certain information across sites within the hub. So in other words, we can almost roll up certain information from all these different sites that we have, and we can present it a certain way on the main hub site. Now, there are three, I guess, main elements you can aggregate or roll up. We can aggregate news posts, we can aggregate events, and we can aggregate documents. So let me show you all three to you right now. I will start with news and announcements. So here's a use case. I let me navigate to, I believe I have some announcements here. So yeah, I have an announcement on my HR site. Welcome Mary to the team, right? New employee announcement. So I have that. And then just to show you, I have another announcement, I believe, over here on my employee onboarding site. I have another announcement about the onboarding workshop. So what I would like to do now is roll up and aggregate all of these announcements on the main hub site, on the corporate intranet site. Now, so I'm on the site and I have an announcement here. As you can see, I have a news post of my own on this site. But you know what? I also want to bring together and roll up those other announcements as well from all the other sites. Let me show you how to do that. So I'm going to click the edit button, and the page is in the edit mode. I'm going to click the pencil icon, and look what we have here under the news source. We have an additional option to bring the news from the other sites within a hub. Now, we actually have this news source option on a regular site, and we can, essentially bring in the news posts and aggregate them from, selected sites that we choose and stuff like that. But we only get this option when we have a hub, all right? You actually get to see this new option called All Sites in the Hub when you register a site as a hub. And look what just happened as I toggle between the two. So I go between the site to All Sites in the Hub, and look what happens. It actually shows me the the news post that I published on this particular site, but it also now brings in the articles from the other sites as well. And it actually tells me right here which site it came from, HR or employee onboarding or the internet itself. So let me republish it. And the use case could be, right? I mean, as you create your company intranet and associate all this other sites, you might want to roll up news and announcements from other sites that are part of the hub. Now, again, all of this is permission driven. So let's say somebody posts an announcement on this private IT site or something like that. You are not necessarily going to see obviously the announcement if you don't have access to this particular site. The second type of content you can aggregate with hub sites are events. So I have this event on IT help desk, on IT desk site. By the way, you can only roll up events if you utilize the events web part, right? The SharePoint calendar that is. And then let me show you, I think I have one more announcement somewhere. Let me see. Yeah, right here I have another one on employee onboarding side. So just like with news, I want to roll it up and aggregate on the main site. So let me show you that. Again, I'm going to edit the page, pencil icon, and by default, it obviously shows me the events published on this particular site. But if I click on the source, again, because I registered the site as a hub, it shows me this extra option now, all sites in the hub. And when I click on that, look at this, there's two events from these two sites are now showing in this particular web part. Sometimes it just takes a while for it to propagate. Here we go. I refresh my page. And yeah, essentially, again, another great use case could be everyone is publishing their own events. You want to kind of aggregate them all, show them all in one place, and you can utilize that option. Once again, it's all permission driven as well. The third type of content you can aggregate, documents, and for that you would need to choose and utilize highlighted content web part. Now you cannot roll up, the documents from one library and put them in another library. For that, like I said, we utilize the highlighted content web part. And if you are interested in learning more about that particular web part, I actually have articles and videos, on my blog. But let me show you what I mean by that. I'm going to go ahead and add this web part, highlighted content. And essentially, this is the web part that allows you to aggregate documents from various resources, sources. I click on the pencil icon, and again, look at this. We can bring in the, documents in this case, and you can choose the source. I don't think I happen to have any documents in my on any of the sites, but again, the idea is the same. You can essentially choose all sites in the hub. You only get that option if you register a site as a hub, and you can now bring in the documents and roll them up, aggregate them based on some logic here and filters, using this highlighted content web bar. Another thing you can do with hub sites is not so much of a I guess aggregation or data rollup, but there is a nice web part that I don't think gets too much attention in SharePoint, but might be handy if you do create the hub sites. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So as you create your hub, right, you obviously add and associate all these other sites to your hub, but sometimes you just want maybe to display them all, right? You have to manually build the navigation, but sometimes you maybe just want to display them right on the page. Let me show you the trick. You click the edit button, and what you need to do is add a web part. It's called sites right here. And let me choose that. And Yeah, I think by default it already kind of did it, but let me click the pencil icon and show you what it does. You can actually, again, select certain sites to be displayed here, but by default, it once again shows this all sites in the hub option. Again, you only get to see the source if you register a site as a hub. And essentially what it does, it automatically displays all the sites that are part of the hub. And again, it's all permission driven. If I don't have access maybe to a particular site, it's not even going to show up here. So essentially, it will do something like this, where it will display all the sites, that are part of the hub right on the page. So that's just another way, I guess, to maybe potentially improve user experience and to automatically aggregate and roll up all the sites within the hub. Now I'm going to continue and show you additional features available with Hub Sites. I will start with the simple one. You can also add a Hub logo, and let me see. Yeah, I don't have an example here, but we'll actually add a logo right now. So you see how I have this site logo? You can actually add a small logo for the hub itself, and it will appear to the left of the hub name. Let me show you how to do that. So for that, you would need to navigate to obviously the hub site, all right, and click on the gear icon, hub site settings, and over here in this area on the in the upper left-hand corner, you just upload the logo. So let me do that. So we go ahead and choose the logo now. It has to be really small and square in size, and you will see why. So I'm going to upload it just like that. Click Save. Now, sometimes it does take some time for it to propagate and show up, so I had to open another browser here, but you can see this hub site logo appearing over here on the left-hand side. And maybe in my case, I had to use a little bit different, color scheme, but it does serve a purpose as well. It's not just, I guess, to make it pretty. Let me explain. So I'm going to go to employee onboarding site. And essentially, if I want to easily go back to the main site, to the parent site, to the hub site, I can either click on the name itself in the upper left-hand corner, or I can just click on the logo, and it will bring me essentially to the parent site itself. The next thing you can do with Hub Navigation is a pretty cool feature, and I use it all the time. You can actually set a navigation audience targeting. Let me explain to you what I'm talking about. So let's actually stay in this particular browser. I am logged in as Mary. And Mary is not a SharePoint admin. She is not a hub site owner like I am. She is just, a regular member of some of the sites. Now, uh, by default, remember when we built out that navigation, so all the sites, all the labels are visible no matter what. It doesn't really matter if you're part of a site or you are not. You still see essentially you still see the label, the link in the navigation. So again, I'm logged in as Mary, and Mary clicks on the onboarding site, and she can obviously access it. Why? Because she is the member of the site. But now let me click on IT help desk. So Mary is not part of IT, but she does see the label, and she clicks and she gets access denied a message. And this is going to be a default behavior if you build a hub navigation. All right, it's all permission driven, but the users still get to see the label in the navigation. With that being said, you can actually mitigate this and improve this user experience. And what we are going to do now is set audience targeting. We're going to target the links only to people who have access to those links. So how do we do that? This is something, yet another thing that happens from the main corporate intranet site. So let me now navigate to the browser where I'm logged in right here. All right, and essentially here are the steps what you need to do to set audience targeting. We're going to click the edit button, And this is where, of course, we create our navigation. At the bottom, you're going to see this option, Enable Site Navigation Audience Targeting. The toggle is off. We're going to enable it. Once you enable it, you then can hide this labels based on security groups. So I need to hide this label, and I only want this IT help desk to be visible to the users who are part of IT help desk team. So I'm going to click on this label. Once you enable navigation audience targeting, you get this extra box called audiences to target, right? And you can actually specify up to 10 audiences here. And the audience is a security group. You cannot type in the names, right? You cannot type in, John or Mary. You actually have to type in the security group. It can either be a Microsoft 365 group, or it can be an Active Directory group, and you can list up to 10 of them. So you know what, for IT help desk, I'm going to use the same group, right? The same Microsoft 365 group that exists when I created this team site. Because if you remember, when you create a team site, it's actually it's a private group, right? It's a Microsoft 365 group, and essentially these are the members of the group. So I'm going to spell it out over here. I want only IT help desk members to see this label. So if you leave this blank, everyone will get to see it. But if you start populating it with the group names, only the people in those groups will see this label. And I'm going to click OK, and you get this icon, means that the label, the link has been targeted. And then we're going to click Save. Now, for me, it still works, right? Because I'm part of this, obviously, team, right? So obviously, I still see the label. Now, let's check the experience for Mary. Now, I'm logged in this browser as Mary, all right? And Mary hovers over the departments tab, and look at this. She does not see the IT help desk label anymore. Why? Because we set up audience targeting. Now, by the way, if you set up audience targeting and your user is logged in at this point, they will need to log out and exit the browser and come back again, all right, because it kind of caches in the browser. So in case if you're trying to find out what's going on, but I already did this. And again, this is the experience you get. And this audience targeting, this is super useful. Why? Because as you build your internet portals, and maybe you have lots and lots of links, right? You can actually target those links, and essentially it's almost like a personalized navigation menu, right? If let's say your I don't know, CEO logs in, they might have access to, I don't know, 25 sites and see 25 labels in here. But if maybe a regular employee logs in, they will only get to see 3 or 4 sites they're part of. So it's almost like a personalized navigation menu. One other thing to note, let me show you. You can set audience targeting not just kind of on links, but on the overall label as well. So remember how we built this 2 levels of dropdowns. I can also set audience targeting on the big label as well. But very important, if you set audience targeting on this top label, right, it will actually hide all the sublinks, labels underneath. All right, so very, very important. But you can also set, right, if you need to hide maybe the entire group, if you will, category, you can actually set it at the top level, parent level, if you will, here, and it will hide all the sub-labels, sublinks underneath. The next feature I would like to show you is not the one I often use. To be honest, I think there have been just rare cases when I use that, and I don't specifically like that feature because it might be a little bit misleading to the users. But let me explain to you what this is all about. There is a way to synchronize hub site permissions to the associated sites. As I mentioned earlier, by default, when you connect a site to the hub, nothing happens to its permissions. All right, just because you connected a site to the hub doesn't mean that everyone who has access to the site all of a sudden has access to all the other sites within the hub. However, there might be use cases when, let's say, you build a hub site and maybe connect it, I don't know, 20 other sites, and you want to quickly grant access to essentially everyone, within your organization, or to everyone who has access to this main hub. You also want them to obviously access all the other sites as well quite easily. There is a way for the hub's site owner to do just that, but it's actually a two-step process. It's not a decision that hub site owner makes themselves. A hub site owner, let's say I'm the owner of the hub, right? Hub site owner, I choose to synchronize permissions. I can enable it, but then every single owner of the site has to essentially agree with me, all right? Has to also accept that and synchronize the permissions. Unless then they do that, users will not have access, to their sites. The synchronization will not occur. So let me show you how this whole hub sync works. And then I'll actually show you what happens behind the scenes as well. So again, the first step is we need to enable hub site permissions sync. And to do that, you just navigate to gear icon, site permissions. And this is where you set permissions to your site. Now, these are permissions just to my site, right? So at the moment, I'm the owner, and I don't have any members, and everyone within the organization has read-only access to the site. Now, again, access to other sites is controlled through permissions on those respective sites, all right? The permissions do not propagate automatically to associated sites within the hub. However, I can now click on this hub tab over here. You can enable the toggle, and it actually tells you right here in this fine print, all right, if the site owner allows it. So it actually tells you here, site owner has to do another step to allow to synchronize permissions as well. All right, existing permissions do not change just because I enable this toggle switch. I'm going to enable it. All right. And when you enable it, you get that extra group. Now, this is, you know how in SharePoint, right, we have three main security group, visitors, members, and owners, right? This control access to the site. When you enable this toggle switch, you actually get a fourth group called hub visitors. And it's a special group that only gets read-only permission. Read-only visitor permission. So whoever I specify here, these are the permissions that will be synchronized. Not any of these groups, just whatever I specify here, right? It could be maybe some Microsoft 365 group or maybe an Active Directory group. You know what? I want everyone. I want everyone. So I'm going to type in everyone except external users. And yeah, apparently you can add, up to 10 of those. And again, you see it's only read or nothing else, right? Or remove, right? So essentially, these are the only permissions you can synchronize. Perfect. So we just completed this step. Now, let me actually show you what happens behind the scenes when I do that. I'm going to click on Site Permissions. And this is not what I typically recommend that users do, all right? But in this case, we'll make an exception. I'm going to go to Advanced Permission Settings over here because I want to show you something else that happens behind the scenes. And just want to show you that group that got created. So in addition to the three SharePoint security groups that are kind of standard as part of the site, a Hub Visitors group got created. And if I click on it, this is where I added everyone. And this is the group that is ultimately synchronized or will be synchronized to all the other sites. Now we continue on one of the associated sites. So I am on this employee onboarding site. And let's see, Mary and I were members. I'm the owner. Mary is the member of the team. So at the moment, let me actually show you what happened on this site. Now, remember, the owner, that's me in this case as well, but the owner has to agree to this hub site permission sync. But let me first show you what's actually happening behind the scenes. It might be a little bit confusing. I'm going to go to site permissions. And again, we see the same three SharePoint security groups. Obviously, no visitors, right? Mary is here, I'm here, right? Let me click on Advanced Permissions Settings, and let's see what's happening behind the scenes. And look at this. Once again, we have three SharePoint security groups that are part of, any SharePoint site. And look at this. We also have this Hub Visitors group, but this is where it's kind of misleading, right? It tells you it's read, but if I click on it, it's empty. All right, it's empty. Remember, on the hub site, we had everyone group in there. Here it's empty. Why? Because I did not yet agree to the synchronization, right? As the owner of the site, I did not agree to synchronize hub site permissions. It's kind of misleading because it seems like somebody else has access to your site already. No, it's empty. But let me show you how it will change. So let's say I do want everyone, right, to have access to my site as well. So as the owner of the site, I have to do a handshake, gear icon, site permissions. And again, I also have this hub tab. And this is where it's also a bit misleading, all right? That's why I don't specifically utilize this feature much. Look what it says. All right, it seems like to me that this is already the permissions are synchronized, but they're not. They're not. I believe this is some sort of bug or an issue. It should be something like this, right? Essentially, it should be off by default, which it is. We just confirmed that by going to advanced permissions. Remember that hub visitors group, it was empty. Now I'm going to enable it again, and you will notice the difference. Look what happens. Now that I, switch it off and on again, essentially now I get to see this hub visitors group that is been synchronized from the hub site itself. And now if I go to advanced permissions, let's double check and you will definitely see the difference. If I click on the hub visitors group, look at this. Now the group was synchronized. So it was just a little bit, misleading, right, with that toggle. It seemed like the synchronization was already occurring. No, you have to switch it off and then on again. But as of now, since we truly synchronize permissions, hub site permissions, essentially everyone from the hub site now has read-only access to this site in addition to regular members of the team. The next thing you can do with hub sites, and I think this could be a great, governance trick or, governance best practice, you can actually specify who can associate a site to the hub. Now, by default, anyone can, any site owner can associate a site to any hub, as long as they obviously have at least read-only access to the hub. So to demonstrate that, I actually made Mary the owner of this employee onboarding site. And now we're going to go to this, to this browser where Mary is logged in. Because Mary is the owner of the site, she once again, can pretty much associate her site to any hub she wants. So at the moment, remember, we're part of corporate internet. I can connect to any other hub within, she can connect to any other hub within the tenant. And this is essentially a default behavior. Anyone who is the owner can associate their site to the hub that they have read-only access to. Now, there are two ways to prevent that or optimize that. So the first step is something you would do in the SharePoint Admin Center. So let me find my site, my hub site. Here it is. So in this case, so the scenario number one, you can actually specify people who can connect a site to the given hub. So for example, you know what, we don't want, the way it stands right now, pretty much anyone can connect their own sites to my hub, but I'm going to fix it. Checkbox, hub dropdown, edit hub settings. You get this additional box over here. By the way, you see this box when you actually create a hub, register a site as a hub. It says people who can associate sites with the hub, with this hub. And you can actually specify, I want Mary and I would want John to associate. These are the only two people who within my organization who will be able to associate essentially sites with my hub. And if you have another hub, right, maybe it will have a little bit different permissions. The second option is actually a bit more graceful, I guess. Sometimes you don't want just to kind of physically, right, do a hard stop and physically prevent people from connecting. Sometimes maybe if somebody wants to be part of my hub, I want them to, go through some sort of approval cycle, and I want to review their request. Maybe, there is a valid reason why they want to connect, and I want to either approve or reject. And let me show you how to do that. Essentially, I'm the owner of this hub. So you click the gear icon, hub site settings. This is the same area where we remember adjusted the logo. And what you need to do here is you need to enable essentially the workflow, all right? There is a built-in approval workflow that utilizes Power Automate, but the good thing is here, you do not need to be familiar with Power Automate. So you just click, this toggle, require the approval, and then follow the prompts. You click Create button. And after you click the Create button, essentially these are all the different actions that are necessary to build the Power Automate workflow. Obviously, we need access to SharePoint itself. We rely on the approval action and notification, right? Essentially, emails will be sent out, to the recipient, to the site owner, and to hub site owners, right? And then you just follow the prompts. You click Continue, and this is where you specify who the approvers are. And these are the approvers for the hub site association, right? Let's say, there are three people who are maybe in charge. I want to specify a few approvers over here. So let me just list my name over here, just like that. And maybe, I don't know, let's just say Mary as well, just like that. And then you click Create. And that's pretty much it. The workflow has been built, automatically for you. There is really nothing you need to worry about. And the way it will work, now I'm not going to show you the whole, the whole chain of events that's happening behind the scenes. But next time somebody is trying to connect their site to your hub, they're not going to be connected to your hub immediately. You will receive an email, all right, and a request via email or Teams asking you to either approve or reject. And if you reject, an email message will go out. If you approve, an email will go out, and the site will be connected to your hub only at that point. Now, I actually have written a totally separate article on my blog explaining how this whole thing works and what happens behind the scenes. And I believe I also have a video on my YouTube channel, so feel free to check it out. But that's yet another thing you can do to optimize the user experience on your hub site. The next feature I would like to show you, and a relatively new feature that we now have with hub sites, and this used to be quite a common request immediately after the hub sites were made available in 2018. But we now have the ability to nest a hub within a hub. Let me give you a use case for that. So let's say you are a relatively small organization, let's say 50 people, maybe 100, 200 people, right? Typically in that particular case, a single hub might be enough, right? You might just have an intranet hub and all the other departments and team sites essentially associated to the hub. But let's say you're part of a much larger organization. Maybe, I don't know, several hundred people, maybe a few thousand people. And essentially each and every department is like, I don't know, 50, hundreds of people, all right? So in that particular case, let's say your human resources department might have 10 HR sites, or your marketing department, right, might have, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 sites just within this particular department. So what might happen, right, that you might build those department hubs, all right, consisting of all those different sites, but maybe maybe you might want to also nest or embed your department hub within a corporate hub. And that's essentially what this whole functionality is all about. I have actually written a blog post some time ago. Feel free to check it out. And I even have a quick video on that as well. But let me show you this diagram over here. Essentially, this is the scenario I'm talking about. So again, use case would be typically a large organization, and you have all these different hubs floating around. And HR hub consisting of HR sites, legal hub, and so on. And then maybe you have different regions, right? North America, Asia Pacific, and so on. And those different departments, hubs, they make up a regional hub. And then all the regional hubs make up the corporate hub. So what you can do, you can nest, essentially embed HR hub within the regional hub, and then the regional hub would be embedded into the corporate hub. So let me show you how to do that. For that, we once again navigate inside of the admin center. All right. And again, what you need to do, so first you obviously create all your hubs, and then you click the hub drop down, edit hub settings. This is the same area where we gave it a name and specified who can connect to our hub. But over here under parent hub site association, you essentially choose the other hub you want to be part of. And in my case, I know it doesn't make sense because I have a corporate internet and a bunch of other internet hubs. But let's just say it was, I don't know, an HR hub. Then you would, typically, choose maybe an internet hub, all right, or something like that, essentially to build that hierarchy. Now, it actually tells you right here in fine print. Recommendation is that you only limit it to 3 levels, all right. And let me actually quickly explain, and again, I go into additional details in my blog post, but let me actually explain to you what's happening when you start embedding hubs within the other hubs. So ironically, nothing happens to the navigation. All right, nothing happens to the navigation. Nothing happens to branding or theme. So if your maybe HR hub was had a blue theme and you became part of intranet hub, a corporate hub that was red, the colors do not change. All right, they will stay as is. The only thing that's impacted is the search experience. So that's the only thing that's actually been impacted when you nest a hub inside of the other hub. If I want to search something within the HR hub, then I will execute a search from the HR hub. If I want to search my whole region, right, a regional hub and search all the department hubs underneath, then I will search across sites from here. And finally, if I want to search at all, so let's say I associated all these department hubs, you nested them inside of the regional hubs, and all the regional hubs became part of the big corporate hub. If I do that search from the top, the very top, it will search everything that's part of all those different 3 levels of the hubs and associated sites. And once again, it's all permission driven, but that's essentially how hub site association works when you embed a hub inside of the other hub. The next step I'm about to show you, this literally have nothing to do with hub sites, but might be a useful step if you are trying to build a truly kind of company internet portal and convert your site into the home site. Why you might want to convert the site into the home site? Well, when you register a site as a home site, it actually gets like superpowers, right? It gets, the news you publish on your site, appear above all the other news to your users. You can also utilize the home site to build a Viva Connections experience, and this is where you pretty much embed an intranet, a home site inside of Microsoft Teams. And there are other reasons as well, but let me show you what you need to do for that. So if you want to convert essentially your hub site into a home site, and by the way, if you need more clarity on the differences between the two, I do have an article on my blog. But for that, we need actually to go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, and we need to navigate to Settings, Viva, and Viva Connections. This is where you actually set up your home site now. And I already have one. All right. But this is where you specify the kind of the URL for the SharePoint site that you built. And the reason I mentioned this here is because typically, right, you wouldn't just register any site as the home site. Typically, that would be the hub site, right, that connects all the other sites within your environment, employee-facing sites, maybe some team sites. So that's why I decided to include this particular step in the process. But once you, again, convert the site, the hub site, it will still remain a hub site, but it will also be a home site. It will be, this is something you can later embed in Microsoft Teams. This is, something that you can later utilize to promote and boost news and announcements. It then will be promoted through the SharePoint app bar with its own navigation. So there are lots and lots of benefits of why you might want to convert a site into a home site. And again, hub site is always a great kind of a great type of site you would do it to. The other thing I want to show you, and something you might utilize with your hub sites, is site usage. So you know how on each and every site, right, if you click on gear icon, site usage, you kind of get to see a little bit of analytics, right? How many page views you got, and on your site and all that stuff. When you create a hub site, you actually get a little bit more information. Let me show you. And the reason I am on this other hub site is because I have a little bit more content in here. So what you can do as the hub site owner is this: gear icon, site usage. And because my site is not just a regular site, it's actually a hub site, I actually get two different drop downs in here. You see, I can get statistics for just my site, all right, that parent site, or I can get information that aggregates all the analytics for all the sites within a hub. So hub usage data. And essentially, it shows me all the different, popular content and views, but it's not just for the main site. It also shows me essentially analytics for essentially all of the associated sites. Now, this is not the most detailed report, all right? Hopefully this will be improved over the years, but just wanted to show you this option. This is yet another thing you get when you register a site as a hub. Before I end this video, I just wanted to show you, provide you with a few additional pieces of information. So first of all, I have plenty of resources on my blog. If you go to my website, SharePointMaven.com, click on blog, you will get to see all the articles I'm publishing. By the way, I have lots and lots of articles. If you click on one of the tags in here, hub sites, you will see all the different articles I published over the years related to hub sites, covering many of the topics I cover today. So if you want to learn about this hub site permissions and workflows and how many hub sites to create in your organization, I have all of this guidance right on my blog. Finally, if you need any assistance with SharePoint, if you need assistance building out some of the SharePoint sites or the internet portal, I offer various SharePoint services and training to help you out. Again, feel free to go to my website, SharePointMaven.com. I do offer various internet packages in case if you need assistance with building out a corporate intranet. In case if you need hourly consulting, I do offer that service. A few other ones, to suit your needs. And finally, I'm pretty big on training. So if your organization, if you need to train your staff, I do offer a number of on-demand courses. I do offer a number of live training sessions that I deliver remotely on various topics related to SharePoint and other applications. So again, if you need any assistance, I'm here to help. But for now, thank you very much for watching this video. Hopefully you found this informative. And in the description of this video, I will make sure to include a few relevant links to my blog so you can access that additional information as well. But for now, thank you very much for watching and have a great rest of the day. Goodbye.